Good afternoon, good morning, and wherever you are joining us from, welcome. Je vous souhaite la bienvenue, Hoş geldiniz, to the inaugural Canada-Turkey Construction Technology Dialogue. My name is Naomi, and I work with the Canadian Trade Commissioner Service here in Turkey. I'm based at the Consulate General of Canada in Istanbul, and I will be with you today in the role of MC and timekeeper. The panel discussion promises to be very informative and valuable, and we will also invite audience participation through Q&A. So just briefly, some housekeeping. So following the first panel discussion, we will have a few minutes for a break, sort of like a post-cafe or chai break. And after that, we will return for the second panel, where we will hear from a few Canadian construction technology companies. So as you've noticed, the webinar will be recorded. And during the Q&A portion of today's webinar, please use the Zoom Q&A function for your questions. So without further delay, I will hand this over to Mr. Hüsaltsbük, who is the head of the trade program here in Turkey. He will introduce himself and say a few words of welcome. Following that, Dr. Mehmet Sakin, who is the president of BIM4TURKEY, will also say a few words to welcome you all and tell you a little bit more about BIM4TURKEY. Richard, s'il vous plaît.
Merci Naomi, merci beaucoup. İyi günler everyone, and good morning to our friends in Canada. It's my great pleasure to welcome you to our event today. And first and foremost, I would like to thank BIM4TURKEY and its president, Dr. Mehmet Sakin, for partnering with us to organize this high-level dialogue. This is the first time that we collaborate together, and I sure hope it won't be the last. I would also like to thank our distinguished speakers today for accepting to share their views and opinion with us. I've only begun my assignment in Turkey recently, but one of the things that I have noted is that although our bilateral relationship is strong, there's a great potential for further collaboration, and especially in the fields of construction and technology. As you probably know, both of our countries have signed the Paris Accord and have agreed to aggressive emission reduction targets. The only way to achieve these goals, and for companies like yours to remain competitive, is to innovate and adopt new technologies. Today, you will get a sample of what Canada has to offer. I hope that this dialogue will lay the foundation on which further collaboration between our two countries will be built. Once again, I thank you for joining the event and encourage you to keep Canada top of mind when searching for technologies or partners to increase your competitiveness. I wish you all a very fruitful event. Teşekkür ederim. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Naomi and Richard. And also I want to thanks to all speakers for their participation and support. We are also glad to establish the Canadian-Turkey Digital Construction Dialogue Groups and to organize the first event together. We are very keen to strengthen the relations and then create the potential business opportunities amongst the Turkish and Canadian companies. You know, in the BIM4TURKEY, our target is the direct digital transformation process of companies, public institutions, universities, and enhance their capabilities. Our very goal is to increase the impact and capacity of Turkish companies in international arena. Without further ado, I owe the special thanks to my great BIM4TURKEY team, especially İlayda, Gözde, and Celal. Thank you very much. I want to introduce the moderator of the first session, my good friend Scott. He's the BIM director of the One BIM company. He's also board member at CanBIM, which is our strategic partner. They're also doing similar studies like we are. Scott, maybe you can briefly introduce the CanBIM to us. By the way, I want to congratulate you for waking up this early. And the floor is all yours. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And thank you very much for inviting us to participate in your event. We really enjoy sharing knowledge and participating in events worldwide. CAN-BIM is a national not-for-profit organization, very much like BIM4TURKEY. We're here as the voice of BIM for Canada and supporting BIM in the construction industry and in the industry throughout, nationally throughout Canada. So thank you once again. We really appreciate being here. So without further ado, I would like to invite the panelists to start their cameras and open up their mics to participate. We've got a number of excellent panelists joining us today from both countries and a variety of industries and industry sectors. We've got some excellent speakers with us today. And I'll introduce you, and I'd like you to just speak a little bit about yourself and who you are, and then we'll get into the panel questions. So Adel Munna, I'd like you to start, please. Adel is a professional engineer. Oh, I don't have your company down here, Adel. Please introduce yourself.
Yes, yeah, thanks, Scott. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in this world. Thank you for being with us today, and a special thanks to the organizers of this exciting event, to the Canadian Consulate in Istanbul, to CAN-BIM, and of course to BIM4TURKEY, the organizers, and you, the attendees of this seminar or this session. So thank you for being with us. My name is Adel Munna. I am a global director at Hatch, responsible for thermal power. But I do take great interest in the construction industry because this is where I have started. This is where I have developed my passion to the industry and in the field of power generation. I used to work on sites for years and years, but I also cherish my experience working in Turkey as well with a great Turkish clients. So this is where I was excited to participate in this event, given my experience and my passion for the industry and also for the Turkish clients and Turkish market. So I have got 25 years of experience in thermal power. I stopped counting after 25 years. So, but it has always been a great years where I've learned a lot about in the power market worldwide. I have a global responsibility that takes me to almost every corner of the world, and and by the way, I work for a great company called Hatch.
Excellent. Thanks, Adel. Really appreciate that. And thank you for joining us today. Fatih Kah, can you please introduce yourself?
Thank you, Scott. My name is Fatih Can. I have been with TechFan for 28 years now. I have been both on the construction side, EPC delivery side, and for the last 4 years, I have been managing TechFan engineering. My background is petroleum engineering. I have a master's degree in reservoir engineering, and I'm extremely excited and happy to be with you today. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, and thanks for joining us today. Mehmet, you're up next.
Thank you. I wish everyone a pleasant conference, and thank you for the invitation. I am Mehmet Kalyoncu, board member of Kalyon Holding, which is a family company established almost 50 years ago. We are in construction, both infrastructure and superstructure, real estate development, energy sector. Also, we have a solar panel factory, which makes us a player in industries also. And also, we are one of the shareholders of New Istanbul Airport, as well as one of the shareholders of Northern Marmara Highway, which is the biggest toll road of Turkey. I am the founder of Turkey Design Council, president of Turkey's largest real estate association, and also I think one of the biggest supporters of BIM4TURKEY since its establishment. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Thanks for joining us. Is Murat and Gal with us?
Yes. Sorry, I was a little
there you
bit late. I thought the link is in Google Meet, but it was in Zoom. Hi, everyone. This is Murat Günal. I am the CEO of MAPA Group, and we are also one of the shareholders of Istanbul Airport, and we are doing mostly infrastructure projects and also mining projects. We are using BIM extensively at the moment, especially in industrial projects. We are seeing the benefits of this at the moment. It has been a slow integration, but we are seeing the benefits at the moment. I don't know, because I just came in now, so am I supposed to
just brief introductions?
Yes, sorry, then it's, I think, enough. I'm happy to be here.
Perfect, thank you very much, and thanks for joining us. Tom Stevens.
Thanks, Scott, and good morning, good afternoon, welcome to everyone, and thanks for the opportunity to be here with you all today. I am with WSP and based in Canada. I'm a vice president and I lead the structural engineering group in the buildings department for WSP. So my focus for the majority of my career has been designing the structures that make these buildings stand up, but I now lead the team across the country in Canada. Another part of my mandate is leading our digital transformation strategy for WSP's buildings department in Canada, which is a strategy that we started about 2 years ago, really focusing on making BIM and digital tools the center of what we do and how we undertake our projects and the workflows and processes that we use to deliver our designs to our clients. So this is a really exciting forum to be part of, to hear the thoughts of everyone else and also be able to share what we're doing at WSP. So thanks for having me.
Great, thank you very much, Tom. Appreciate you being here. I also just want to mention we've got Alex Espida. Alex, I hope I pronounced your last name correctly. Just want to mention that Alex works with Adele, and depending how Adele would like to, maybe we can get Alex to comment on a couple of the questions as well. So feel free to chime in as we go. So thank you very much, everyone. Certainly appreciate you all being here today. We've got a series of questions for the first part of the panel discussion. And feel free to build upon each other's comments and as we go throughout today. And then the last portion of the session will have we'll open it up to questions from the audience through the chat box. So, a first question, I'll ask this question to all of you, and I'll get each of you to comment on it independently. What comes in mind when we talk about the digital transformation in the construction industry? And maybe you can talk about that specific to not only your sector but also your region, and how you think that impacts the other regions. Adele, let's start with you.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. So just a bit of intro to Alex, because Alex is our expert in the company. In fact, Alex is leading the adoption of digitalization in the engineering practice across the company, not just in the engineering, but the project execution. But what comes to mind is really delivering and developing a digital foundation in the delivery of engineering, so that that foundation of digital platform could be used in efficient delivery of engineering through procurement and construction. And when we envision this as a company that gets involved in project execution, not just engineering, EPCM, complete full spectrum of execution, but also in the operations side, because we get involved in the operations from asset management practices. How do we create a digital environment, an ecosystem where data are centric, where there is only one version of the truth, where we don't see construction industry suffer from data dump from engineering and procurement? How do we solve this? How do we bridge this transition on project executions? This is what comes to our mind when we think about digital transformation in the construction industry. We attach, because we're doing the engineering, we are experiencing the difficulties between transitioning from engineering to procurement and from procurement to construction and construction to operations. How can we do better? Well, if you ask any construction company, go to any construction site and see the struggle they have with the interpretation of engineering drawings, with the interpretation of what procurement meant to do with this material. Well, you can ask, Alex is going to talk about this in the next panel, but ask the Construction Industry Institute, and they're going to tell you that this costs money. This is inefficiency. And there is about, maybe you're going to hear from Alex in more details, maybe 40% of cost inefficiency involved in that. So, and the other thing is, how do we make sure we have accurate, dependable, underscoring dependable, look ahead planning and construction? How do we make sure that we monitor material during construction in an accurate and real-time way? And I think this is what comes to our mind. So digital transformation and the adoption of such for us is no longer an option, is no longer a cool thing. It's a necessity of life in this real world today, because we needed to have a data-centric environment where we could use the information to deliver more efficient, more certain project in terms of cost, schedule, but also transition this into operations to translate into asset management, operational readiness, operational excellence. This is why we are excited about this. And this is why we as a company have taken it upon ourselves to increase the mindset in the company of this digital transformation, and then reflect this out to our projects, no matter how big or small or simple or complex.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you very much. And it's interesting, one of the comments that you mentioned there was utilizing BIM throughout all phases of the project, and then finally for building operations and maintenance. And that I'm sure that requires a lot of thought and planning, which I think Alex will be speaking on a little bit later. So thank you very much, Adele, for your comments. Fatih, what comes to your mind when we talk about digital transformation in the construction sector? What's the first thing that comes to your mind? Oh, you're on mute. There we go.
Thank you, Scott. Adele, he made an excellent entrance. Since the question is about construction, and a good part of my background is all about construction, I tried to focus on the physical construction for that section, and try to be a bit controversial. So digital transformation in construction sector, what comes to my mind, I'd say continuous and sadly constant struggle to cope with. That is how I wanted to start. And if I'm to continue, although industry was not too late to recognize how indispensable would digital transformation be for sustainability of the business, I think we have been notoriously bad at transforming our processes as well as our mindsets to cope with it. I think after having ill-spent a massive amount of money and resources, we only recently started to see that our progress and objectives are finally converging. But it is still a very long journey ahead. Now, the stakeholders are more motivated, and beyond that, are more serious about transformation, because they now have a solid reference, COVID-19. They realize the criticality of what may ensue in future when we have the next crisis of this magnitude. And it is not if, it is when. It is just a matter of time. I will set ever-expanding ERP programs, project controls, job site and construction management software solutions aside, and look at one another area. I now see solid advances in industrialized construction, and by that I mean modular projects, autonomous construction equipment, and field robots. I believe digitalization, coupled with advances in robotics, will add a word to our dictionaries: dark construction site. Just as manual, labor-intensive factories were transformed into dark factories, our job sites will be transforming into dark job sites. Maybe in the future, we will measure our job sites by how dark they are. Darker is the better. Now the tricky part is how that transformation will affect human to machinery ratio in construction industry. In that regard, we can deduce a lot by recalling the transformations that we witnessed in traditional industries, like automotive. I hope I could give at least just a bit of a sense of what has been constantly burning my mind recently about the transformation of our industry.
Right on. Thank you very much. And interesting you comment there about prefabrication and modularization and the transition that the industry is moving, or the direction that the industry is moving to more prefabricated aspects, and like you say, creating dark construction sites. So where it's more automated and use of technology more. So very interesting. Thank you very much. Mehmet, what are your thoughts around the digital transformation in construction? How do you feel about that?
Well, we know that this sector is one of the world's most traditional sectors. Mm-hmm. So our company is also producing solar panels and as well as solar cells, which is a high-tech production. But there is no excitement in it to make it digital because it's easy. But here it's not, it's one of the most difficult things to do because our sector is traditional. And I think mine and Mr. Muratan Günal's story at the Istanbul airport is a good example, because both our fathers are the founders of our companies, which are both family companies. And they are above, mine is above 60, his is above 70. So at the project, we had the chance to bring their experiences, as well as the courage and the excitement to use these new practices at the project. What I saw is these things need strong sponsorship and strong leadership, as well as a strong team. And it is not easy. So our experiences shown us that if you want to bring a new thing to a sector, to an industry, into a project, it needs to solve something. We don't need to make everything digital or everything with high tech if it doesn't solve anything. these new practices shouldn't bring a new burden or new bureaucracy. They should cure a problem. If we focus in these aspects, I think it will succeed. And this is what we did at the airport. Most of the technologies we use are Wi-Fi, using Wi-Fi coverage, and in some areas, low power wide area networks enables us to collect data without human interaction. This is something we use at our project, which is enabling us to make predictive maintenance on our machineries. Also, see how efficient they are. See how are we utilizing our machinery. So these data help us make decisions. Also, this LPWAN technologies we are using at the operation of the airport, which is they are detecting anomalies so that we can find the root problem of an anomaly and solve it before something gets broken. That is that's helping us. One of the also thing that we use is, construction is very tangible thing. It is good when we see how it is developed. And the biggest problem of our sector is, I think, the relation between a section chief and the boardroom of the company. So to solve it, to make this to closer, we are now developing an app on mobile phones, enabling section chiefs to bring in the critical data from the field day to day. But we are making it as easy as to post a tweet on Twitter. So we really need people's involvement in it. This is also enabling us to manage our risk better, because we have a field data which we can rely on. These are also being an input at our progress reports. And the third thing that we use is drones nowadays at our projects. But our drones are working with a special software that the drone itself can calculate the physical progress of projects. For example, we are deploying 1.3 gigawatt solar power plant, one of the biggest in the world. And the drone is weekly detecting how many square meters of panels are on the field. So we don't have to ask anyone. But all of these use cases are solving a problem. So it is making easier for people to believe in and follow these new practices.
Excellent. Wow, that sounds incredible. Thank you very much. That was very interesting. Boy, I got so many questions that I could build on from that. Murathan, maybe you can build on what Mehmet just mentioned there around the use of digital, or the transformation in the industry that you're seeing.
Yes. So actually, I want to comment on both speakers' statements. First of all, following up from Mehmet Bey's comments, I saw that the adoption of these technologies have been proven to be difficult in our region, at least, because the tradition is very strong. It's difficult to break the habits of the people, and new comers into the field, younger engineers, they are not very well, they don't have training of this before. So when you hire them for a specific project, training them takes time, and by that time the project has advanced. So there should be more emphasis on this in the universities, I believe. You know, if the projects are let's say following each other, then you are able to retain these capable engineers and you know, progress with them. So we have tried to adopt this in our mining sector. We are when you talk about integration, the systems have to be all integrated together. When you just talk about BIM and people think about design, but with that comes the associated costs, the scheduling can be done, and input of real life data, and then analysis of this to make quick decisions, right decisions. Because the problem with our sector is analysis takes 90% of the time and the decision takes 10%. This has to be changed. So that is one thing. And also I saw that when the contractors, they don't know the benefits of this, adopting these systems, they are not doing it themselves. And then the clients, if they, very recently in our few projects, the clients made it mandatory. So that becomes that speeds up the adoption situation. I want to comment a little bit about Fatih Bey's statements. I believe that is the ultimate end of our sector, which, you know, all of the sectors, unfortunately. But the speed of that may be less than others. But what I want to say is also that you know, all automation and robotics will change the landscape of contracting also. Maybe the Turkish contractors may not be the best in the world at that moment, because we will lose our advantages, I would say, efficiency in terms of manpower, costing, you know, very capable engineers, and of course that will take some time. So the owners of those technologies will have will be one step, or let's say 10 steps ahead at that time. But in any case, that will, because it can only be used if they reduce the cost. And when the cost reduces, more investments will be done, which will better everyone's life. So we look forward. I hope I see it in my lifetime.
Excellent. Thanks, Murathan. Interesting comments there. Thank you very much. Tom, so as Vice President of Structures for WSP in Canada, how are you seeing digital transformation in your sector in Canada?
Yeah, this has been a fascinating discussion, and so many really valuable points have been made. You know, we could spend an entire day sort of weeding through and talking about each of them. But you know, I think the key point that I heard several of the panelists make was about adoption, and that is also where we are in the buildings industry in Canada, is adoption of the digital strategy and digital transformation and BIM in our day-to-day workflows. You know, BIM isn't new. You know, we've been doing projects using BIM tools since 2005, but we're still at a point where it's not ingrained in the day-to-day for our workforce. We still find that we have pockets of users who are sort of our BIM experts, and the people who sort of understand coding, whether it be Dynamo, Python, Rhino, Grasshopper. We have those pockets in our design studios that sort of, are these light bulbs of brilliance when it comes to technology and how it can influence the design process. And what we're doing now in terms of our digital transformation is saying, well, we need to change the tools that our core engineers and designers have in their day-to-day. And that includes BIM tools and coding and 3D modeling environment. And we want that skill set to be as widely distributed across our workforce as possible. So we want to pivot our work team from being, having a BIM person who sits in one corner of the room and deals with these issues, that it's now the entire design team works in the BIM environment. So our engineers understand how to be in the BIM model and understand all the BIM tools, and our BIM modelers are, working with the designers hand in hand, so that it's no longer, documents and packages being created, sort of moving through a traditional assembly line process. It's a more holistic process of design now. And that then enables our engineers and designers to actually leverage the BIM tools to come up with a much smarter, more intelligent design. I think it is about, as Adele said, it is about creating the digital ecosystem for our projects, and the potential that if we actually do create data-rich models that are intelligent with real data, the potential on how that can transform the construction industry and our projects and how they're built and then how they're used afterwards is tremendous. But we're not there yet. I don't know that there are too many real examples that you can say where a BIM model has been taken from, early concept design through construction and then passed over to the facilities team for actually operating a facility. It's, I think that we all have, the vision that we want to get there. And that's, I think that starts with training our teams and training our young engineers and designers with the tools that they'll need in order to do that. It's really the approach that we're taking in WSP is we're trying to change how our designers think, how they approach problems. So, while traditionally engineers, had their spreadsheets and had their design tables, now we're trying to get them to think about, can I write a Python script, or can I write a C+ or C# script that can solve this problem in a better way? But what I really liked, one of the comments from one of the panelists, Mehmet, was understanding that digital is not always the solution. And there are parts of our work processes and workflows today that are perfectly fine the way they are. And so we shouldn't be trying to, make digital the solution for everything when it's just not appropriate. And I think that it takes a very, you have to be patient, and you have to sort of take a very informed look at all your design processes and workflows to understand where digital can have a benefit to the overall project and where it's just not appropriate.
Interesting. Great. Thank you very much, Tom. I think thank you all for commenting on that question. I think the common theme is that we're all experiencing the challenges around digital transformation. A number of you commented on the challenges of training and education as well, and bringing your teams up so we can utilize a lot of these tools. And Tom and Mehmet, there's a very good point around picking which digital transformation of processes we need to focus on. Which leads me to my next question. Murathan, how are the construction companies really prioritizing the digital transformation? How is that impacting, and what are they mainly focusing on around the tools to use?
So, as I said before, the prioritization, at least in the parts of the world which we are working, which is the Middle East, Africa, and Eastern Europe, and CIS countries, these are, in these countries, the clients are requesting for the at least adoption of BIM into the design and build projects. And that is, contractors are, very headstrong, let's say. They don't want to change their ideas a lot. and when they are forced to, they are doing it. So that is, we have seen in other also companies who are adopting the technologies, and then we can find available workforce for this. And right now, for example, in our mining sector, in the process plants we are building, we are using complete systems integration, where we do the design, and then we do the procurement out of that, and then we do the scheduling out of that, and then we are doing real time tracking of the construction. So in a small, relatively smaller footprint and more, let's say, condensed area, and fewer team members, because the chain is as strong as the weakest link, and a lot of teams are inputting into this, and if one doesn't work, then you cannot get any any sense out of the data, and then it becomes just a hurdle. So we have successfully done in smaller projects this link. Bigger projects, such as if you build an airport with a 1 million square meter, or sometimes highways, bridges, roads in a 50-kilometer environment, the physical challenges are also creating some problem to adapt this. I see also consultants, they don't have enough capable workforce in order to analyze the designs and then comment, at least in the areas where we are working, I would say. So that's the at least the journey which we have at the moment as a company. And also I would like to add one more thing. Let's say the fashion of BOT projects, and Turkey is very proficient in this. We have done a lot of projects such as this. And when the public debt to GDP ratio became an issue for countries, they are trying to move with this kind of format in projects where it can be directly paid back through investment, and establishing very good technologies, to track brings. We are seeing cost efficiencies in the maintenance. For example, we have completed now 3 major pipelines in Saudi, totaling 2,000 kilometers, and we have done it with BIM. And right now, we are not operating them, but the government is operating. And we see when you compare an older pipeline system, which has been built 10 years ago, and now with this one, they are able to spend less money, I would say, on the cost. And now they are trying to, on the maintenance, sorry, and they are now requesting for, let's say, bring the other previous projects which have been done into the system also. So we are seeing real life benefits, and I think it will be further and further developed.
Right on. Thank you very much. So even over the short span of 10 years, you're seeing such an increase in the use of BIM that it's having an impact on the operations and maintenance of the pipeline. Great. Fatih, with the development of technologies and a little bit of future gazing, how do you think that engineering and design will change and evolve? What do you think the impacts will be on engineering and design with the use of technology?
Thank you, Scott. And I have only 3 minutes to answer to that question. But again, let me spend part of my time by thanking to Muratan Bey, who echoed my views and who was a bit more positive, optimistic than I was. And also to Tom Stevens. It is not only young engineers, but also youngest engineers are studying C# here. So let's back to our topic. Okay, let's start by remembering what CAD stands for, computer-aided design, and the famous, if not infamous, AutoCAD. I think this is more or less where most of us started. Now, as the panelists mentioned, we have more integrated design tools at our disposal. The main argument behind those is to offer a fully integrated 3D environment that enables different engineering disciplines and massive number of users to start the design, progress and conclude it concurrently with minimum do-overs. That is their value proposition, I guess. One thing that we should be careful about is those systems generate massive amount of data. Where will that data reside? On our servers, on-prem, as our IT people like to call, or on cloud servers. Both have pros and cons, but I believe the ultimate winner will be the cloud and cloud computing. Then who will own that data? This is an easy one. Our clients and asset owners. But how engineering companies will leverage on their previous projects, simply their experience. From where I stand, answer to that question is becoming incredibly complicated. I also see AI, artificial intelligence, as the future of engineering. I wouldn't disagree with the statement that, in actual fact, the way engineering is performed today is even more labor intensive than the physical construction itself. To that end, I envisage an AI-based software running on the top layer under the set boundary conditions. That AI-based software will automate almost all lower tier engineering software that we are using, actually manipulating manually in our workflows today. To me, the biggest disruption in engineering will be at that point. Just a bit about remote working. As you know, engineering companies were the first to adapt to remotely working. And it seems that they have been doing fairly well. However, sustainability of this is still a big question mark because we have already started to see alarmingly high personnel turnover rates, so-called great resignation. Alienation of employees is at concerning levels. And yet we don't have systems in place to reach out psychologically, to psychologically support our colleagues. So despite the emphasis we make on remote working, with the new reality, with the new normal to come, we should recognize that we will have to take it with its pros and cons. Another point will be the media, where to render or visualize our product. I mean the design. as well as meeting and interacting with our clients. So far, we have managed to take it from blueprints to computer screens, from computer screens to online meetings. But even with the advanced software that we think we use, I still don't believe that the interaction among our team members, as well as between them and our clients, is at the level where it should be. I'm looking forward to having my first metaverse meeting with my colleagues, if it will not be with my clients, say, this year. Recent acquisition of Activision Blizzard by Microsoft for $75 billion US, and the fact that Facebook plans to hire 10,000 people only in the EU are strong enough indicators to where our industry is headed. Finally, I feel that we are not too far away from an era where AI-based design, that is just I try to describe, is downloaded by field robots and autonomous construction equipment, whose management will be done by another AI-based software. So we may easily add to the dark job size the dark engineering offices. One final warning, if I may. Those challenges that I try to present in 3 minutes will totally disrupt our business models. Our contracts with our clients will have to be different. The extent of our work scopes and the extent and type of our liabilities that we undertake and manage will greatly change. And you know what? We'd rather be prepared to face that fact. Thank you.
Right on. Thank you very much, Fatil. And you're right, you know, the disruption that digital transformation has had across the industry has certainly been widespread and impact many of us. Now, Adele, at Hatch, you guys have really developed a process, and as you mentioned, a culture around digital transformation and use of digital tools in projects. How do you think that's going to impact the actual operations of the buildings and the utilization of that data and information?
Yeah, it's a great question that really gets to the bottom of why we are adopting this digital transformation. But I do want to donate some of my time to my colleagues, Alex, to talk to you about the adoption process itself. I'm going to be very brief. Alex being the Chief Adoption Officer, if you will, for Hatch here in the digital space. But the reason, and I agree with my fellow panelists here about showcasing the benefits of the digital transformation, because it is only when you quantify the benefits that adoption is going to happen. And it's incumbent upon us as industry leaders to do that. I heard some talking about training, education. It is us who are mandated by increasing this awareness, training, education for our construction partners, for our clients. And first and foremost, you have to be able to demonstrate the value to the owners. Now, the reason why we think there is continuation of the digital transformation and the creation of the digital environment and ecosystem in the projects, it's because of the complexity. And we're not talking about a building here. We're talking about complex industrial projects in the either mining space or the petrochemical or power industry or all in the also in the infrastructure space. We see more and more adoption of digital asset management in the operational space. Clients would want to make informed decisions. They want data is becoming a valuable commodity, and making informed decisions require data. And data requires analysis. Otherwise, you're in ocean of data as my friend Fateh said, and where do you go from there? So if you are able to harness the data in proper analytics to make informed decisions, you can improve the efficiency, your operational efficiency, increase profits, improve reliability, and minimize, of course, minimize the cost of maintenance and managing your assets. This, and I agree, this depends on the complexity, because if, as Mehmet said, if it doesn't make sense, why would we do it and spend money? And of course, that's an informed decision that has to be made. And we recognize that from region to region, it's different adoption now, just it's the nature of things. But think about how Uber has started and think where Uber now. So we think this is coming, and we think it is all about taking the first move, making the necessary adoption. And for that, I would like Alex to say a few words about adoption. Alex.
Yeah, I'll just take a minute. I know that we have a schedule here, but you know, I've heard some fantastic comments here from the whole panel. Some keywords that I've made notes on, which we talk about day to day here, is it's a journey. I think, Murathan, you said that it's adopting the digital mindset. You know, I heard the word disrupt, which is, you know, I look at it as a positive disruption. We need that in the industry. Enabling decision making. That's, you know, that's really key for people in the field on a day-to-day, making decisions quickly. And, you know, something I like to add on adopting technology, it's, you know, technology is the tip of the iceberg. You know, we use this image in Hatch. It's the tip of the iceberg, you can imagine. And the hardest part is actually penetrating to the bottom part of that iceberg, you know, getting to the people, the processes, breaking those habits, traditions that have been in place for many, many years. I heard that word as well from Murathan as well. There's just a few key comments. So thanks, Adele, for passing the mic, but great discussion.
Right on. Thanks, Adele. Thanks, Alex, for your thoughts. It's, you know, very insightful. So Mehmet, you've been involved with a number of large-scale sustainable projects. How do you manage the digital transformation in your company while still considering the environmental and sustainable aspects of it? And as you know, we are running out of time, so I will ask you to be brief so I can get Tom's question in as well. Thanks, Mehmet.
Sure. To be more environmentally conscious, I think the best thing we can do is to finish the construction as soon as possible, so that the construction site wouldn't impact more carbon emission to the environment. That's one thing. And to finish it faster, we need more collaborative decision-making processes, which BIM is a key component. That's why we need it. And it is also preventing us from any kind of rework, which is also enabling us to not to waste time, manpower, material, and so on. So to get more environmental, BIM is also a critical, it has a critical role. And we have seen a big example at the airport project. It is the biggest, world's largest BIM project, and also world's largest LEED Gold project. And it is 1.4 million square meter, but it has finished in 3.5 years. How can you do it? In LEED standards, in 3.5 years, a 1.4 million square meter building, the largest after Pentagon. So BIM helped us a lot. We have solved up to 600,000 conflicts and problems on BIM, which in the other, if we wouldn't use BIM, were supposed to be solved on the field. So I think Istanbul Airport is a great example. And also we are using BIM at the operation stage. That's a new story, so I don't get into it. But if I had to make the last comment, I think projects like Istanbul Airport or other state-sponsored big infrastructure projects, these projects have a transformative role in our sectors. I give the example of the military in the United States, which enabled many technologies to evolve because they are less cost sensitive. Internet itself had been developed through the military support as ARPANET in 60s. So like that, I think if new technologies, new practices are going to evolve in our sector, projects like Istanbul Airport and other big scale infrastructure projects has an important role. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So, Tom, we just heard how Mehmet worked on the Istanbul Airport project and sustainability was a large part of that project. How do you think the digitization of the industry is going to affect sustainability on our projects? And what do you think, how do you think companies should adapt their processes to meet those needs?
It's a huge opportunity, actually. I think Richard mentioned it at the beginning. We saw in the summer this year, countries come together and form the Paris Accord. We all understand the impacts of climate change, and we as designers and builders have a huge opportunity, perhaps obligation, to invest and ensure that our designs and built projects, that sustainability is at the root of our designs. And a lot of companies sort of start putting together their strategies, and they have a digital strategy and then they have a sustainability strategy. And in my mind, those two strategies have to become one. You need to tackle sustainability and sustainable design with your digital strategy. And I think that the digital strategy is a tool that we can leverage to ensure that our designs are done with sustainability at the core of those designs. The sustainability, when it first became the buzz in industry, was really sort of, there was boutique firms that offered sustainability consulting. There was, side of the desk, or, they would be brought in to, evaluate a project and give you a lead scorecard. And that really started the dialogue. But where we need to transition now is that sustainability needs to be integrated into the design process. We talk about, design needing, higher quality design is where all the designers, the architects, and the builders all sit around the table and do it in a collaborative way. The sustainability aspect of our designs needs to be at that table. And whether there's a specific sustainability consultant, or more preferably, all of our designers are trained with a sustainable mindset. They need to be at that table, and every design decision needs to be made with an assessment on the impact on carbon. Early design decisions truly impact the embodied carbon in our built projects across the world. Some estimate on average of 30% of the carbon is locked into the physical building or structure that we build. And it's, over the course of the life cycle, that's just locked in. And we can make smart decisions as designers to reduce that amount. The opportunity with digital and BIM is we're creating these data-rich models. And with that data, if we include the carbon impact of our material choices, then we can optimize our designs to make sure that we are choosing the right materials, the right systems, the right configurations of those materials to create the most carbon efficient assets that we can create. It's what BIM really leads to. It enables optimized design. It enables automation. It enables computational design and parametric modeling. And with all of that, we can make sure that any preconceived notions of what the right material to use are tested. And they're tested against a whole suite of different materials, so we can truly understand, what's the right material for this project. And carbon sustainability needs to be one of the key factors that weighs into those design decisions going forward.
Right on. Thank you very much. Very interesting. So we only have a few minutes left, and I want to open up the Q&A section. But I do have a question that came up a little bit earlier, and I'll open this up to everybody if you want to chime in. But you know, we've talked a lot about changing the process, talked a lot about the transformation of the industry. How do we measure this? How do we measure that we're successful in the delivery of our projects? Alex, what's been your experience around that? How do you measure the success of a BIM project and the metrics around that? And we do have a couple minutes, so I'll ask you to be brief.
Sure, I'll try, and please pile on whoever's interested in filing on. But how do we measure success? I think from our perspective is really seeing our project teams and our clients truly benefit from the data, which is for me the most valuable commodity. You know, there's a question in the chat about the baseline and how do we measure that. You know, we're on a journey, right? So in terms of measuring efficiencies from one project to the next, it's tough to gauge, really. But I think once we get to the point where we've gone through a couple of examples and lots of projects that going into operations, you know, there's going to be real benefit in repeatable design, I think, later on, because that data will be there. We'll know how we designed, you know, a power plant. We have the data in-house. We know how we've designed the pipeline that was mentioned earlier. So the repeatable design side of things will be a real benefit there down the road. So that's my take on it. I don't know if anyone else has something to add.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Murtan.
We have done, we have completed in 2021 two same capacity process plants for mining. It's 1.6 million ton each one. In one of them we used the BIM, and in the other one, because we were not able to gather enough workforce to and also people to management to do it for two projects. And the one which we did with BIM in the end, and not only the design, with the scheduling and the cost tracking and the manpower, you know, with the real life data from the site, I would say 5 to 6% cost decrease we achieved in a project of it was not so big. It's $55-60 million each one. So we will try to adopt in even projects where the clients are not requesting.
Right, and that's an interesting point. How many of you are seeing the demand? Where's the demand coming from? Is it coming from the clients? Is it coming from your internal processes to create more efficient design and more efficient buildings? What are the pressures that are really driving this digital transformation in the industry? Tom, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's yes to all three, Scott. It's it is definitely being driven internally. We definitely look at our digital strategy as a roadmap towards efficiency and increased profits through the design process. And it's sort of we look at this, it's a combination of staying viable in the industry because we're not naive to, you know, how technology has the potential to disrupt engineering. So to stay relevant, we need to continuously be looking at how technology can be leveraged so we can improve our design process internally to be more efficient. Our clients are asking for it. They see the potential of the data in these models, and having this data accessible in an intelligent way they're starting to get glimpses of how they can use that for their own operations moving forward. And so there's a tremendous demand coming from our clients. Although I would say that many of our clients are still at the beginning part of the journey and don't understand the potential yet, the real potential of what the truly intelligent BIM model can deliver for them. And then, yes, the industry itself is moving in this direction, and organizations that want to stay relevant, need to be competing and accelerating their adoption of digital tools to stay relevant.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So last question, and I'll open this up to everybody again. The biggest carbon emission comes from the superstructures. What's the best way to prevent that and maybe capture the carbon or make these larger structures more sustainably efficient? Mehmet, what are your thoughts on that, being that you've worked on probably one of the largest projects with the airport, and it's a very sustainable project? How do you think we could improve on carbon capture around that?
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe the simplest way to make buildings less high, so that their carbon emission is reduced automatically. But if it's a necessity because of density, then then I think the best way is to again finish it as soon as possible. So prefabricated construction methods will have a good improvement on that, and as well as using energy efficient electromechanical systems. Also, those are the sources at the operation stage. Those are the sources of biggest carbon emission, I know. And I would like to give another example. I saw on the report that if we are to use all the sustainability methods that are on practice now on each and every building in the world, we are only solving 50%, half of the carbon emission problem of the built environment. So as well as using the existing practices, it's important also to see how we can find a new one. New ones are mostly expensive. So how many of us are willing to have a 15-year ROI than a 13-year ROI on a project? That's the critical question, I think.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So our last question, and we only have a couple minutes left, and I guess this is directed towards our Canadian participants. What are some of the BIM tools used in the design construction industry in the facilities in Canada, and how widely are they being used? And Adele, you're in facilities management and maintenance. What's your opinion?
So obviously we use a suite of tools in Hatch, but Bentley Synchro is used at Hatch for 4D. Now we all know the digital asset is the project information model in general is made through. We all do 3D. 4D is more about the construction simulation and sequencing. We get involved in projects with multi-constructors on site, not just one constructor. Sequencing is important from efficiency point of view and also from safety point of view. And as everyone knows as well, from sustainability and emission reduction. So we use Bentley Synchro. It's used for the construction simulation, but also in sequencing. And I think Alex is going to hang around for this session, the next session. Alex is going to provide more insight about how we use the 4D and 5D and also the 6D and the digital asset management. And it will shed some more light on the software that we use.
Excellent, great, thank you very much, and a fantastic segue into the next session, into the next panel discussion as well, or the panel session. So thank you very much, everyone. I certainly appreciate your time today and your contribution to this event and a fantastic discussion. We have an hour, and I think we brought up some excellent points and excellent topics during that hour. Probably a discussion that we could have for much longer than an hour. But thank you very much for your participation and your input. Thank you very much. Naomi, I'll hand it back over to you.
Well, thank you so much. And I'd like to echo your comments because I thank you to all the panelists. This was such an informative and interesting conversation. And Scott, thank you so much for facilitating the exchange and the dialogue. You did a great job moderating the panel. So thank you for all your hard work. And as Adele mentioned, please stick around because there will be a really good conversation taking place in the next panel. However, we are going to take a quick, I think we have about 6 minutes for a break now. We're going to take a quick break to allow everyone to get some tea, some coffee, and then we'll come back for the next panel discussion. But once again, before everybody leaves, thank you so much to all the panelists who took part this morning or this afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. This was a really good conversation, and I'm sure everyone who is watching in the audience will agree with me that it was very illuminating and interesting. So don't go away. For those of you who are on the first panel, you're welcome to stick around for the next one. Those of you in the audience, we're just going to take a break for a few minutes, but we'll be right back with the second panel discussion.
I have to excuse myself because I have to take off with a propeller plane now.
Okay. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have to leave also. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Great. So since I have a feeling that this panel will have a great conversation, just like the first one did, we'll get started right away. In the interest of time, I won't delay it. So just very briefly again, my name is Naomi Gelker. I work for the Canadian Trade Commission of Service, and I'm based in Istanbul, Turkey, at the Consulate General. So welcome to everybody who's online, and welcome to our panelists, and thank you so much for being with us today. I will hand it off to our moderator, Izet, who's joining us from California right away, and I will let him move forward with the panel discussion with the different panelists, and I will leave it with you, Izet, in your very capable hands. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Naomi. Actually, I'm joining you guys just briefly from Istanbul. I'm visiting Istanbul, so I'm close by.
So you're seeing the snow today. Very good.
It has been years that I haven't seen snow, but it's good to be back. And from California and of course Turkey and East Coast has been different. So I just want to thank Consulate General of Canada for putting up this great, I think, event, and BIM4TURKEY, and especially Mehmet. I think it has been amazing. And then the first session was really, really great. And I'm excited about this second session, which we will have this excellent speakers from very successful and interesting companies. And I will talk about innovation. And the first session was important because this was a little bit interesting from my perspective, because we heard a lot about disruption. Richard Dubuc has opened the event with the word disruption and competitiveness of countries. And construction is one of the most important industries in any country in terms of its competitiveness. And then if you are talking about disruption in a traditional or conventional industry such as construction, I think we are on the right track. So just recap some of the first session speakers and conversations for those of you that who have missed, or we will make some connections to with today's speakers, this session's speakers and sessions as well. So Fatih Can mentioned a lot about transformation, machine to robot transformation, any kind of transformation that's happening in construction industry, digitalization, impact of AI. This brings us to question, where do we put humans in construction industry? Mehmet mentioned a lot about the importance of data optimization, and how data helps them to reduce the risks, hopefully also manage the uncertainties they are facing. And Muratan mentioned a lot about habits. So disruption, meaning the common topic theme of this session, basically, you know, you guys might have heard about Albert Einstein's famous saying that the level of the world we have made as a result of today's thinking, the same thinking cannot help us to solve tomorrow's problems, right? This is actually what we are facing in the construction industry. And disruption is happening in any industry. It's going to happen. And it's like riding a motorcycle. I always tell to people that when I talk about disruption, it's not as if you will fall, but trying to gauge or trying to figure out when you are going to fall from it, and then make sure your fall is a soft one, right? And disruption is a fuzzy, organic, emergent thing. That's why we are talking about disruption a lot. And in the first session, we have seen many companies, big companies, family companies are being faced by disruption that's happening in the construction industry because companies, incumbents, everything is, goes behind the corporate curtain or death by committee. That's what General Motors used to call it. There was even a joke when they would see a snake at the factory floor in General Motors in 1970s or 80s, they would form a committee to figure out they should kill it or not, right? And then this is what we are seeing, what I am seeing, at least from my perspective in the construction industry, by incumbents, by companies that are actually there. They are, hopefully, they do not prevent disruptions being happening. But today we are going to talk about innovation and disruption and technology. And all of these companies are really doing exciting, interesting and exciting initiatives and projects and in the construction industry. So without further ado, I'm going to start with Alex Cespedes from JDM Technology. And from Hatch, who is the global adoption lead. And they will first, each of our speaker today is going to talk about 8 to 10 minutes. Then I'm going to ask them one question. Then we'll open it for Q&A from the audience. That's how we are going to work today. So Alex, if you can, I think you can share your screen and you can briefly introduce yourself. So we are so excited.
Sounds good. Thank you, Izzat. So hello, everyone. Good to be part of this discussion. I'll just give a quick intro to myself. I'm a control and automation engineer. Graduated a while back from University of Toronto, and really passionate about automation and digital delivery. Okay, and I'm currently part of our digital project delivery team here at Hatch, leading the efforts on the adoption side, which is in a sense the digital transformation for our company and working closer with our clients and data is really really my passion and I'd like to share a few things today about this what we're doing at Hatch. So I'll share my screen here. Just give me a second. I have it in presentation mode. I hope you can see my screen. Yes? Okay, good. So I'll get going. So this is just a quick manifesto. I'm going to start with the agenda here. I have a manifesto moment, which is something we use regularly here at Hatch. I'll give a quick intro about Hatch and dive into the details of digital project delivery. So I just wanted to flash this on the screen because, we start all our meetings and conversations about our manifesto. We use this on a regular basis, talking to our clients and our partners. It highlights our mission, vision, and our values. So today's discussion revolves around ensuring cost-effective, efficient delivery. That's one of our key values here. And also our mission, to build practical solutions that are safe, innovative, and sustainable, which are key terms that are part of this dialogue today. So about Hatch, we work all in all 3 major sectors. I don't know if you know this about us, but we work in the metals, energy, and infrastructure space. We apply digital project delivery across all 3 sectors, and we're very proud of that. Our organization is growing and basically passionate about a better world, developing innovation for a better world. And that's kind of the common theme here in today's discussion. We're spread out across the globe and working in all parts of the different continents. So jumping into digital project delivery, this is at a high level is what we are basically our architecture for digital project delivery. It's broken down to 3 major components. We have our delivery hub, which is really where our projects get initiated. Establishing an environment, a common data environment for our different disciplines. And all that data comes into a common data environment and eventually gets transitioned over to an operations hub, which is really the transition over to sites for our clients so that they can perhaps embark on using a digital twin. And I'll touch on that a bit later. So this slide really just highlights the different components of BIM, which I'm sure all of you are familiar with, from 3D to 6D. I'm focusing on these because, here at Hatch, we naturally do lots of work with our 3D models, really focus on a data-rich environment. The 4D component, which I'll dive into a bit more detail, is really the construction sequencing and simulation that we use for constructability reviews. And as Adele mentioned in the previous session, we use Synchro 4D. Naturally, in the 5D component is really the cost dimension. So it's important to create a baseline during your project execution and be able to trend off of that. You don't have to wait till the very end of the project to see what has changed. And I think that's a really valuable asset that we have in our project execution. And naturally, we're developing this data so that we can hand it over to our clients and to operations so that we have a seamless transition there. And our clients can really reap the benefits later on in their facilities management, either in a maintenance platform or some other form of a digital twin. So I wanted to bring this up because I really like this slide. It talks about how our construction team members may feel sometimes that we're from the engineering side of things or the procurement side of things, there's just a lot of information coming at them, and it may be a big mess to go through to sort out what needs to be done at site. One of the items here that I highlighted is from the Construction Industry Institute is all of this complexity accumulates to 40% of cost and efficiency. So there's a real benefit for us to embark on using digital delivery and BIM naturally. So our focus at Hatch is really giving our construction teams a constraint-free construction site. It's something that's predictable on the time and naturally to reduce the cost. This is a key focus of ours, why we do digital delivery. So one of the key points from digital delivery is really just to increase the tool time. I'm sure our construction colleagues on the line can relate to this. We want to increase the tool time so that we can naturally improve productivity, improve safety, morale, predictability at the site. So these components are all connected through what I'm going to touch on is advanced work packaging, construction simulation. Here at Hatch, we used advanced work packaging for many years, and it looks something like this. It's really the connection between, at the beginning stages of our engineering design, having that engineering work packages defined early on that link to procurement work packages and naturally feed into the construction work packages. And then later on, working into the installation work packages as well. So these could be broken down by trade, by discipline, by contract, etc. So all of this information is necessary for us to feed into what we use is Synchro 4D. So again, I'm playing a simulation here on the side, but essentially it's our intelligent model, our data-rich model, with all the assets being tagged and connected to a construction work package is key for us to feed this information into Synchro and link it in with our execution plan. So some typical, this is a key to success for us, and establishing this for these simulations during the project execution is recommended. We can see the plan versus actual and constraints analysis. We can also, once we reach the facility, we can also use it for field progressing, resource statusing, resource utilization, look ahead planning, and naturally, a 4D presentation and reporting as well. This is a screenshot of how to use it for material availability. And you can see on the image on the right, we can identify what images, what parts of this component are at site, what's partially at site or on site to begin the work. So it'll help and enable our teams for that go, no go to initiate work. So again, visualizing this is very powerful. This is our construction progress from one of our projects, clearly identifying what has been installed and what has not. So you can naturally use this throughout the course of your project execution, the construction phase, and connect it to each of the CWPs as shown on the left. So green means it's installed, and so on and so forth. Again, just how does this link all together? So, I touched upon the common data environment early on. That's something that we focus on from the delivery phase. Having that common data environment feed into the Synchro application, which is downstream, and having our teams use this for several modules that Synchro uses is Synchro Control, Synchro Field, Synchro Pro as well. So having that available for our construction teams is key to success. So I'm going to focus on some of the digital values. I think I have some time still, and coming from the engineering side of things, we are challenging a few of the classical deliverables that our industry is used to. And even delivering a model in some cases is what we're aiming for as well. Naturally, that takes a bit of time working with our contractors, integrating them to our teams early on is also recommended, and having a data-centric foundation. On the procurement side, naturally, we want to lower procurement costs. So having integrated procurement packages and efficient management of suppliers early on is also key. I touched on the increased time on tools early on. So our industry is already using advanced work packaging, and we will continue to use it so that we can connect everything between tools, material, people, and making informed decisions on work package readiness. On the operations side, enabling our clients and our operations to have a digital twin. That's something that's been thrown around these days very often. It could depend on a single asset or an entire facility. You may want to do digital simulation, process simulation as well. That's something else that we help our clients with. So I do have just a few short videos. I know I have a couple minutes left, Izzet, if you don't mind. I'm just going to browse through this quickly. So this is a model just showing one of our facilities that has a data-rich model. We click on our asset. It shows the metadata that we have associated with that asset. That's all coming from our common data environments. Moving along, I think it'll also show you we can assign issues. So when we're doing a construction design review, we can assign issues to our teams. Our clients can do it. Our design team can do it. what we're showing here is we can actually take screenshots of different versions of the model and compare them as well. So compare them in the sense of, what's been added from the previous version, what's been modified, what's been removed. We use this icon on the left is called Bentley iTwin to federate different models coming from different platforms. We find this application is very useful to import models from different platforms, such as from Autodesk to SmartPlan to any other as well, Navisworks, etc. This will be the last video. I know we're running out of time, but this is something we, again, looking into the model. This is our design review component. We can transfer this over to our clients, and the powerful thing here is that you can click on an asset and have the association to any document that's connected to that asset. So if it's connected to a PNID, a PFD, a data sheet, that's extremely powerful at a facility, even during design or construction, to navigate through all that paperwork that I showed that image early on that our construction teams and our operations are going through. So connecting those dots through a common data environment is extremely useful for the entire engagement lifecycle. And the last video I have here is really on some virtual reality that we also are using in our projects. It's a fly through the facility. We can do the same thing that we saw through the model environments, but you can actually walk through the facility and get that spatial awareness. So I think this is really useful. We can deploy this on our projects and have our clients immerse themselves in their future facility and provide markups and have very productive design reviews.
Thank you, Alex.
All right. Thank you very much. I'll stop sharing.
Thanks so much. So this was amazing presentation, amazing technology, amazing capabilities. So we'll open it for Q&A specific to Hedge and what Alex has presented. But while you guys are thinking about those questions, I think I see one question there, and then please, you can write in chat in Q&A your questions for Hedge to Alex and what you guys have seen, all these amazing capabilities and technologies, write in chat so that we can ask them to Alex. But before that, actually you answered my question. I was going to ask you what would be the complementary technologies that would enable you guys to build all these capabilities. And you talked about digital twin, you briefly talked about BIM, I guess. You mentioned VR technology, AR and VR. So those would be the complementary technologies I think you guys would be using. So my question to you, how do you guys, being that you guys have been around for some time, right, in the industry, all that experience is of course relevant. How do you guys stay relevant despite or beyond while these disruptions are happening in construction industry? How do you access technology or new technology? Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure, you cut off near the tail end, but I think I got it. It's all about continuous improvement. We learn from every project that we're on. We stay relevant by connecting with colleagues like the team here, but also talking to our clients, see what their key value drivers are. And we're also, one of the things we're really focused on these days is really information management, really focusing on data. Data is the commodity, the valuable commodity these days, as you all know. So how do we elevate our information management on our projects and naturally feed that into our clients' operations? There's ISO standards out there that you know of, the 19650, that we regularly check in, and our DPD environment is achieving that as well by connecting with that ISO standard. So we are in touch with what's happening globally, and we're also listening to our clients, just to see what their ambitions are for their operations. I think that's also a key driver.
Thank you. That's great. I see in the Q&A, there are two questions, but I'm going to combine them. I think they are interrelated to each other. So the one question was about the usability of BIM tools, whether they are sufficient for industrial projects that you guys have just presented. And then there's a relevant question that comes after that, which says, can you read instant live data through the BIM models? So to maybe integrate into what you just presented.
Sure. The live data, yeah, I mean, we can tap into the model through the environment I showed you before. I mean, we had a short video. You can click on an asset and pick up that information because we're feeding off of that common data environment. So it's coming in through the iTwin, connecting to the 3D model. So yes, we can see the live data. The other question was, is it enough for industrial projects? I would say yes. That's what we focus on. You know, we work across all sectors, from metals to energy to infrastructure, and you know, I would say all of them, if not all of them, are focused on industrial applications. So yes, we are using it for industrial applications, and I know that there's another major component there on the commercial side too, commercial applications as well. But yeah, we are using it today on industrial projects. I hope that answers your question.
I think that answers it perfectly. Thank you, Alex, for your time.
Thank you.
Amazing capabilities. I hope you guys also do something in Turkey. I think construction industry would benefit a lot from your partnerships or your initiatives in Turkey as well. So hopefully
I would enjoy that. Yes. Happy to reconnect after this. Yes.
Thank you. So our next speaker is Mark Liss from JDM Technology. He's the Chief Commercial Officer at JDM. JDM is another very well-established company in Canada. They have been around, but they are very technology-oriented company. It's they are talking about a lot of use cases and where they use technologies. So Mark, maybe a brief introduction, then you can also show your screen. Floor is yours. Thank you for coming to today's session.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Yeah, I am going to speak about the JDM Technology Group and what we do in our suite of companies in our organization. So thank you very much, and I do appreciate this opportunity to speak to all of you. And so, as you said, I am Mark Liss. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer of the JDM Technology Group. I did start my career in public accounting, worked for a couple of construction companies after that, and then over 30 years ago, I went into the construction software industry, which is where I am today. But what we want to know more about is who is the JDM Technology Group. We are a private family-owned business headquartered out of Vancouver, British Columbia. Today, there are still 4 family members that are actively involved in the organization. And really what they do, what the family does, is that they search worldwide looking for construction software companies that would fit our business model. So they are constantly scouring the globe, speaking with companies around the globe, trying to see if they fit our model, if they have either a technology or software that fits what we're looking for to come into the JDM family. So JDM has been, as was just mentioned, we've been around a long time, over 37 years, with our original company called Explorer Software, based out of Vancouver. We are today 22 companies worldwide. Those companies employ over 550 team members. Those team members support over 14,000 customers. Those customers work literally on all 7 continents. But what's important? What we learned is what's important is the people. We know that if we can keep our employees excited about coming to work every day to solve their customers' needs, then those customers are going to enjoy working with and utilizing the tools that we develop. These are the logos of those 22 companies that I mentioned at the start. One of the tenets that we live by when we buy a company is we know that that company has built up a lot of goodwill and a great reputation in the industry prior to us buying them. And we don't want to lose that. And so it's our philosophy that when we buy a company, we continue to have a local management team in place. So they have their, all these companies have their own president or managing director, depending on the part of the world that they're from. And they all manage it locally. And we want to have our companies feel that they're empowered to make the decisions to run their business as best as they see fit. But they and their customers know that they have the power of the JDM Technology Group and the knowledge that we possess behind them. So where are our companies located? The first one over there in North America on the top there, it says Explorer. That's Explorer Software, the original company 37 years ago. Since then in North America, we've added 10 other companies that you see there. Over in Europe, there's Integrity and Estimate and Red Sky in the UK. Red Sky also has an office in Dubai that serves the Middle East. In Norway, there's Rendra and Safran. And then in Australia, Levisis, CSSP, and Spearhead. And in New Zealand, PlusFactor, Nimbus, and Coscon. So this is the way the JDM company is today. But as I mentioned, we do look worldwide, literally every day, to find other companies that might fit our business. So what does fitting our business mean? It means we look at what we call the project life cycle. So the design, build, and manage phase of a project, and where does an organization fit in that we're looking at purchasing. So you can see under the design phase, there's these 5 companies. The top 4, Spearhead, Vision Infosoft, ConEst, and Estimate, are estimating software packages. With Spearhead in Australia, and Estimate in the UK, and Vision Infosoft and ConEst in the United States. Industry Smarts is a little bit different in that they are a pricing tool. So they work with manufacturers and distributors in the electrical industry to get the most up-to-date pricing so that when customers are bidding a project, they can get the most up-to-date price and make sure that their bid is as accurate as it can be. Over on the build side, Explore and Maestro are both located in Canada, with Computer Guidance and Job Power in the United States, CSSP and Levisis in Australia, Nimbus, Coscon, and PlusFactor in New Zealand, and Integrity and Red Sky in the UK. All those companies that I just mentioned are ERP solutions, or Enterprise Resource Planning Solutions. They are the software that runs the business. They do the accounting side, the GL, accounts payable, accounts receivable, payroll, job costing, inventory, procurement, equipment, whatever their customers' needs. They have those modules that are relevant in their particular area to solve the business needs of those customers. The other 2 under the build side, Rendra and Safran, are both located in Norway, with Safran having project management software as well as risk analysis software that helps companies make the right decisions at the right time with the information that's available. It does some very complex calculation to develop the risk platform. And then there's Rendra. Rendra has a product called StreamBIM. And what this product is, the technology that they've developed, is that it allows the full BIM model to be streamed very efficiently to your mobile devices out on the job site. So that when you're out there, you don't have to, if you remember downloading a piece of a BIM model, obviously because they're so large, to your mobile device. And then if you went somewhere else on the job site, you didn't have that particular part downloaded, and it was frustrating. Well, StreamBIM has developed technology that will stream the full BIM model using the connectivity, even just cellular connectivity, to stream the model. And then under the managed section, you can see these 4 companies. All 4 of these companies are located in the United States, but they all serve customers around the globe. And what they are is they're part of the CMMS industry, or computerized maintenance management systems. And so they take over, when the job is complete, they take over the management of the equipment to make sure that it is running efficiently and utilized as much as possible. So they can handle, do scheduling and preventive maintenance, and obviously repair and breakdowns, has a lot of mobile tools involved. So all of those software are at the end of the project when the business rolls in, and their customers include like universities and construction companies and manufacturing plants. Those businesses have a lot of equipment. But with this particular session, especially being sponsored by BIM4TURKEY, I'm just choosing these next couple of slides to focus on the product called StreamBIM, which is by, again, our company Rendra in Norway. And this is just an outside look of a project in the BIM model. This is a fire station. But then what StreamBIM allows you to do is very easily peel back, or in this case, I shut off layers of the BIM model, the architectural and structural in this case. And so now I'm only looking at the remaining layers, in this case, just electrical, plumbing, and ventilation. So you can easily turn on and off different layers to focus on what you're trying to see, as well as when you're in, I'm now in that BIM model, and in the bottom right, you see a 2D plan. That's how you maneuver through the BIM model, is by with your finger. If you're on a touch screen, with your mouse, if you're utilizing a computer, you move through the 2D plan, moves you through the 3D model as you're looking and analyzing what's going on the project. It has other tools, like in that bottom left, you see a little circle with an icon. That is the measuring tool. So if you needed to measure the circumference of a pipe, or the distance between the door and the wall, or the beam and the pipe, or whatever it is you're measuring, it's a very efficient and easy to use measuring tool. You also have abilities like I can click on any object in the BIM model. It will count all those objects. It will highlight all those objects for me so I can see where they're at. I can download that to Excel if I wanted to utilize that for some type of ordering or some type of reporting that I want to do Excel. You can also utilize Power BI with the information from StreamBIM. But one of or not one of, but probably the key function of StreamBIM is that it is truly a collaborative tool. So the concept of StreamBIM is that we want everybody on the project to have access to the BIM model utilizing StreamBIM. And then you can create workflows or items that you have questions or concerns about. In this case, I have a workflow with issues. And so you can click on an item. I've clicked on this door and it's turned it orange. And then on the left-hand side, you can see this issue that I'm creating. It shows me on the 2D plan with that orange circle, shows me where it is. On the 3D plan, it also marks where it is. And then in this case, I actually took a picture of the door and put that into my issue. And then I can record the issue and then have that go to an individual, to a team, or to everybody on the project, whatever makes sense, to answer and give me the information. And once all of that is gathered and analyzed and answered, and when I'm satisfied, I can go in and obviously close the issue at the end. So that's a real quick look at StreamBIM, but now this is just a very fast video to show you it in action, because it's obviously a lot more exciting in action than just seeing it on a picture on a slide. So this is a BIM model of a apartment complex, moving about the model in that bottom right-hand panel with the 2D plan, selecting, in this case, a door, and highlights. It says there's 744 doors. You can see how it highlights that. That was an example downloading it to Excel, and then how it's being used on the job sites today. It also does allow integration with point cloud, so you can upload the point cloud model if you have that, and now you have both to be compared with. It is a plan room as well, so you can see the 2D plans here and just analyze the plans and do measurements and things inside of the plans as well. There's task planning, there's checklists. It's an extremely powerful collaborative tool to give access to all that information to everybody on the job. This is that type of issue or workflow that I spoke about as well. So that is one of the products that we have, or one of our companies, Rendra, and their product called StreamBIM. And with that, I appreciate your time. Again, I'm Mark Liss with the JDM Technology Group, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. Again, we're so excited to hear from you. You guys are a truly global company, and you have integrated so many different companies, technologies into your ecosystem. It should be very challenging. And we are having some questions. While for those questions to build up, I got a question for you, and maybe you can answer it for us. So how do you guys see countries such as Turkey as for some of these new technologies? So what do you see opportunities in emerging countries such as Turkey to learn or to develop some of these new technologies that we have been talking about in today's session and from these different speakers? Do you guys see challenges more, or do you see opportunities? And because I have seen that you seem to be working, most of your companies that you guys are acquired seem to be, if I'm not wrong, coming from developed countries. That's where I guess most of the technology advanced countries. So what would be the opportunities for in emerging countries for JDM?
Well, really, we don't. You're right. Our businesses are focused in developed countries at the moment, but that we truly do look everywhere and see if there's technologies being developed anywhere. It doesn't matter to us where they're at, as long as they're strong, useful technologies that we hope that we can integrate within our product set. So integrating StreamBIM with our estimating software packages, and even with the back-end accounting, so that when you're doing a purchase order, that information can be shared between the BIM models. It really doesn't matter, but for us, we're trying to get that whole life cycle being able to be shared among the whole group, as opposed to the common way is everybody has their own silo of data and silo of information. We want that information, and as Alex was even sharing, information and data is key. We want that shared amongst all of our platforms, regardless of where they're at. So whether it's Turkey or any other country, any undeveloped country, it doesn't matter to us. We just look for good, exciting products that can assist our customers to be better than they are today.
Amazing. Hopefully, all this group will keep in touch with you guys, and they'll inform you about maybe new startups or technologies that are building from Turkish ecosystem as well, because it has been developing a lot in the last few years. So that's something. So I see a few questions. So one of them is about training. So you have talked about these extensive BIM models. As you said, you guys see this as a life cycle. So one question was about, are you guys, maybe, I don't know if you guys are supporting your clients in this from this perspective, but the question was about how do employees get trained to effectively handle those extensive BIM models? So this is more about training to use these new technologies or the BIM models. So there is one question about that, Mark.
Yeah, training. I'm glad somebody asked that. Training to us is key. Buying software, there's a lot of great software systems out there, but if you don't know how to use it or use it properly, use it efficiently, or use it to help your business, it really doesn't do you the good that it was intended to do. So all of our companies have training. A lot of them, the bigger ERP type solutions, do a lot of their training on site with customers. Products like StreamBIM and our Saffron Risk Technologies do a lot more of their type of training remotely, but it's ongoing and it's constant. And using the technologies that are available today, most of our companies have videos to help customers that they don't need to contact a person. They do it themselves. They go on, they see a video, how do I do this particular function? And they get trained up on themselves. And then if they need more assistance is when they might contact our actual organization. But people today expect and are used to just looking at a quick 1 to 2 minute video to understand how to do something, as opposed to sitting down for a 4-hour training session.
I agree. And then you started your presentation saying that it's all about people. So you're trying to make it easier for people, your clients, your user customers. So
we use the term easy at every opportunity we get. It has to be easy or people are not going to use it. And what's the point if they're not going to use it? You develop a great technology, but if it's too difficult, it's not going to get utilized.
I agree. Great. And then there's one little question, next follow-up question. A question is about the tender process. So since you guys are looking at from an ecosystem perspective, one person is asking, sorry if I have missed, what about the step of searching or finding suppliers for tenders? Do you use any software or portal for the procurement process? So yeah.
Yeah, usually it's portal type technologies we use for the procurement process. So that, and we also have our company Industry Smarts on the electrical side that helps with that type of search to find not just the products but the accurate pricing for those products. But portals, you know, and utilizing APIs and having software and disparate software systems speak to each other is becoming the norm and the requirement in the industry anymore. So that's really what we see is that you know, you need to purchase something from Caterpillar. They have their own system, we have our own system, but they need to talk regardless of where they're at. The customer expects them to be able to integrate. And so when I order something from them, I can have that automatically upload into or post into my system as well.
Thank you, Mark, for your time, and thank you for participating in today's session. And this was great. Two companies established, incumbent companies, very well established in Canada and all over the world. Now we are kind of changing a little bit focus. These are younger companies, and they have started as with introducing innovations into the construction industry. So that's like going to be our change of focus. First one would be GIA Tech or GIA Tech, right? And Pori is going to be with us. He is the CEO of GIA Tech, and this company is amazing. I have seen a number of their podcasts. They are talking about how they revolutionize or how they are planning to revolutionize construction industry. Some of the technologies that we talked about that we can define as disruptive technologies, such as IoT or AI, Pori and his company has been integrating them, and this is what they are trying to do. So this is actually the real use case of all these new either disruptive or complementary technologies that we have been talking about construction industry. So welcome, Poria, and I'll give the floor to you.
Thanks, Azat, for introduction. Yeah, so good morning, everybody. I guess in Canada, North America, and good evening or good afternoon in Turkey and the rest of the world. Yeah, thanks. Just maybe a little bit, I'll share maybe the screen and then I'll start with my introduction. Would you mind if I, yeah, there is a screen sharing happening. I stopped the screen sharing from Mark, I believe. Yeah, sorry, Mark, you just.
Perfect.
Yeah, perfect. So I'm just. Okay. Yeah, can you see my slides? Perfect. So yeah, maybe from myself a little bit background, right? My name is Purya Gats, CEO, co-founder of GIA Tech Scientific. We established this company almost 11 years ago, right after PhD studies in Canada. I'm originally from Iran. You know, I did my study at the University of Tehran, and yeah, so after PhD, we thought, okay, let's see whether we can change the concrete industry, right? So probably, I mean, sub-segment of construction industry, right, to revolutionize it and have some impact on the quality of the concrete and other basic aspects of the concrete industry by leveraging technologies, right? Either IoT, AI, mobile connectivity, right? All those technologies that are advancing in other markets, right? Market segments, right? So even consumer products. and borrow the ideas and bring them to this industry and basically create some impact. And that's what we are passionate about, right? So working at Geotech over the past 11 years. And yeah, so today maybe I'll start with two examples. The one that is completely commercialized IoT solution that we are offering to the market and how it works and the benefits to the construction companies. And the second one is basically the solution that we are working, which is very close to commercialization, on the clean tech side, the carbon footprint emission side, to just demonstrate how we can leverage again technology, right? AI, data, digitalization, all those together basically to create some impact. I hope the audience find them helpful, and yeah, at the end, I can elaborate on any areas that needs more clarification. So, okay. So the vision of the company, as I mentioned, is just to revolutionize the concrete industry, right? To basically to bring a disruptive technology. And what we are trying to do is basically from the kind of end-to-end solution, right? So to try to bring solutions, products that we can impact concrete through the whole life cycle, right? From the batching plant, right? So the concrete, basically is a mixer in the truck, all the way toward the construction job site, when they discharge the concrete, place it, pour the concrete in the formwork. After basically placing during the curing time of the concrete, all the way through the life cycle of the building, right? Like for 50 years, 100 years, when we have the buildings or infrastructure in operation, right? So there are lots of data that we believe that we can basically measure, right? Leveraging sensors or other basically tools available these days, and leveraging those data, right? Analyze the data, create knowledge, information, and as a result, create value proposition for the industry, for different stakeholders, right? From the ready-mix producer side all the way to the general contractor, subcontractors, or concrete specialists, through even the manager, operational or owner, or whoever would be in charge of the operation of the building during the life cycle of the structure. So that's in overall, our vision, what we are trying to achieve at Geotech. But one of the industry problem, we started 2015, actually very simple one, but we found that is a big industry problem, right? That there are lots of construction companies dealing with or having issue with was concrete curing process, right? So when we place the concrete, in the formwork, there are lots of challenges, right, with the curing of the concrete. And yeah, of course, curing of concrete requires some level of like a time, so basically this is a process, there's a chemical reaction, requires some time, and also the temperature impact that's significant, right? So that's such like in weather like Canada today is, I'm talking, minus 20 degrees. So in Ottawa, right, the curing probably would take more time unless they basically heat up the formwork or keep the environment warm, right? But compared to Turkey, for example, it's already summertime, 40 degrees summer or 50 degrees. The curing process is quite challenging. And the big challenge the construction company or general contractor have with that piece of the puzzle is, they don't know basically when they can get the strength, right, to remove the formwork or basically open the bridge to traffic, or go to the next stage, right? And pretty much quite often in concrete construction, concrete curing is the bottleneck, right? So, and most of the project managers, we are talking to, right? So if they are saying that if we can get concrete, the scheduling under control, the rest of the project is much easier. So the current process, right? So basically when they pour the concrete, this is the status quo, right? The traditional, right, the challenge. So they put they take cylinders or cubes, basically, cylinders in North America, cube, I guess in European and the rest of the world. They send them to the lab and they break the sample. They wait 1 day or 2 days. I mean, it depends, right? So 1 day, usually 24 hours to get the results, report by email, PDF. And to see whether they can, they got this strength, right? So basically whether the concrete is hard enough, there's a structurally basically sound enough so that they can remove the formwork and apply the load, right? And that process, which is very inefficient, and basically you need to send let's say, technicians to the job site to pick the samples, and you may need to repeat it a few days, right? Because if you don't get the strength, require the strength or respect, you need to go back the second day, take a few more samples, from the job site. That field cured specimen practice has been very, very inefficient. And what we did 5 years ago, we started, developing basically the sensor for that, right? So the real-time sensor, basically IoT sensor, they can install, the contractor can install on this rebar, they pour the concrete, there is a mobile app or hub, they connect to the sensor basically on the job site, and they would be able to, look at the, get the real-time strengths on the mobile phone in their hands, as well as other information like the temperature of the concrete, curing temperature, thermal gradient. There are other basically information that usually they are interested to have on the job site. And with that, basically they could have saved significantly, right? On each cycle, 1 day per cycle. And you can imagine it's a 60 stories building, 2 months basically on the scheduling of the project, as simple as this. And the cost of, just as, speaking of value proposition, the cost of contractors, right? Each day depends on where they're located in North America, like small cities, 15,000, 50,000, but if you're talking to our customer in Manhattan, they're talking $500,000, right? The cost of delay basically in the structure, financing costs, crew, and also hassle, right? So that's very often happening in Canada, right? Cold weather, that they have your crew on the job site. You're going to open the form book, the results come, and the stress is not good. We need just to send the crew and pay the 50% of wages and come back. So with that IoT mobile connectivity, basically, we enable the contractor in a way to get access to the data when they are on the job site, real-time access to the data. And also we develop dashboard for data analysis later on, for documentation, reporting, those are more on the software side, right? So to make the process tracking the data easier, and they can share the data between, with engineer or structural engineer on the site, consulting, or sometimes owner are interested to have access. These are the basically other components of the solution, enabling other stakeholders to be part of the ecosystem, basically in that basically part of this solution. And also we added later on a few years back AI engine on top of the data. So basically for doing a couple of things, that AI engine look at the pouring time, identify the pouring time of the concrete automatically. So basically, exactly they know when the pour happened. So they're looking at verifications of some of the assumption on the calibration side of the sensor, looking at cement reduction, right? So there's a feature that if they input the mix and we look at the curing of the concrete over time, our AI machine basically would be able to provide some suggestion, right? So whether your mix is optimized, or you can basically make it more environmental friendly by cutting back cement. Some suggestion on the mix side if the user put information on the recipe of the concrete. So with that, we got to probably, it's actually a little bit outdated that now 9,000 plus 9,000 projects across the globe, basically, right? So that technology, the value proposition or product market fit was so significant that over the past 5 years, we had serve basically more than 9,000 projects with 6,000 active monthly users. Sorry, I forgot to update this data. It's 1 year old. And so this is we are seeing that great adoption, right? So in different countries, developed country, developing country, right? So because of the value proposition, right? It's a simple, make their job easier, kind of not need to basically spend money and delay the project, which is significant, right? Using $100, give or take, just $100 sensor basically in concrete every pour. Lots of high-profile projects. There are 2 examples of them. Vista Towers in Chicago, the tallest building in Chicago. Basically, they started a few months actually on the project, leveraging that. A couple of other ones in North America, the rest of the world. So that was one of the first example I just wanted to share. I thought it's interesting IoT AI connectivity kind of leveraging in concrete in this. The second one that we are working right now is a little bit extending toward the ready-mix producers, right? To bring value proposition toward the beginning of this supply chain, right? Concrete supply chain. So what we are working on that, right now is an AI engine that we train using, I guess, 300,000 data points, the biggest database for concrete recipe, concrete data that we collected leveraging our partners, right? So 40, so almost 40 producers around the board. And over the past 3 years, we basically trained the machine, we call it a smart mix, basically, that would be able to optimize the concrete mix recipe, the whole basically supply chain of concrete, basically from the producer side, and also track the data all the way through the construction using the current sensor we have, and kind of closed integration, to be able to provide the concrete recipe on the go in the very, very live matter and remove the human judgment call or batching or educated kind of guess, on the recipe side. Right. So let me step back.
For the interest of time, maybe.
How much time I have? Sorry.
This is a little bit over time, so if you can wrap up and we can have.
This is the last.
Yeah.
So basically, this is the system, ecosystem or operation system, that we are introducing to the market, enabling producers, mainly producers in this ready-mix producer, to reduce their carbon footprint by optimizing their mix, right? So we have found that basically in this slide, which is this one is the last slide. These are the recipes, right? So out of our database, right? You see for different strengths, the carbon footprint of the concrete, right? Which is mainly related to the cement usage. And we found that, they're all over the places. And if we do real optimization, leveraging the data available, basically, right? By collecting the data or available data. So we would be able to reduce up to 30% the carbon footprint of the concrete by having not only carbon footprint, but also cost for ready-mix producers. So that was a second example that I just wanted to bring up. With that, I'll basically want to thank you and wrap up this presentation and open the floor for any questions or anything. I need to.
Thank you for it.
Thank you.
Inspiring. You guys started with a real world problem, and then you have created solutions that are, beyond the original problem that you wanted to solve. You're talking about reducing the carbon footprint and all these positive externalities. So this was a quite interesting story for all the audience, and then I hope they also found it interesting as well. I got a question to you while we are getting all these Q&A questions to you, what you guys are doing. You kind of touched upon this. You have done a lot of high-profile projects and industry big level, big contracts. So, and then you have been talking about revolutionizing the concrete industry, and as well as having an impact on the construction industry as well. So, what's the next step? Are you guys planning to democratize this technology that you are using to smaller players in the concrete industry or in the construction industry, or are you guys already doing that?
So the next step in terms of commercialization or in terms of the technology development? I mean, commercialization, right?
With commercialization, correct.
So basically we are signing up big construction company, right? ENR 400 in North America and lots of partnership across the globe with the big construction company to basically accelerate the adoption of the technology, right? So what we get excited is just seeing the sensor, right? Because eventually what we would like to see in our lifetime is just similar to other technology introduction to concrete industry, like admixture, right? In concrete, it's been introduced maybe 30 years ago, but now the definition of concrete changed, right? There is no concrete without a chemical admixture, right? So retarder, water reducer. Even going to developing, underdeveloped country, every places, they need the definition of concrete is with admixture. So we would like to see the same thing, right? So basically concrete and sensor together, right? So there's a concrete, we need to buy a sensor before we pouring concrete tomorrow. And that would be our next, to make it widely adopted in concrete industry, so that people can benefit, and we can benefit from the data back and create more solution basically on the data we are collecting.
Okay, for that, there's a related question. Should the customers, your clients, buy those sensors and put in the concrete, or the process for each curing time? So how does, like, it's kind of a question about maybe your business model. Do customers buy from those sensors from you guys and put in the concrete for each curing time?
Yes, so basically that's really general contractors, right? So the construction company, general contractors or customers, yeah, they buy from us directly. Yeah, they install it on the rebar. When the concrete delivered, they pour the concrete and it's disposable, right? So one time used, and yeah, it's good for 6 months data collection. And after that, the battery dies, it stays there. It's a small piece of the sensor is, yeah. Just in, yeah, this is the actual size of the sensor, yeah.
Perfect. And then there's just one informative comment. Probably you guys know this. These sensors are mandated by the building inspection law in Turkey. So that means, you guys have lots of potential in Turkey as well. And I know you are already doing some business in Turkey. The last question is about the technology side of it. So the next steps of technology. And this question asks, are you guys planning to use blockchain technology for this life cycle tracking? And did you guys think of using blockchain or or any other technology? So like next steps in technology maybe.
Yeah, no, that's a very good question. But yeah, the short answer is at the moment no. But next 3-5 years we see the potential when we have lots of data, right? Tracking the concrete, to the truck level, right? Truck by truck, ticket by ticket. And you want to basically connect all the data and yeah, basically from end to end, knowing that there are different stakeholders, right? This concrete producer, even driver, may change the concrete all the way basically to the concrete producer and then deliver to the owner, right? So we see opportunity blockchain to basically for tracking and of those data, right? So that if you want to make it benefit from basically data end to end, something that, we can track them, some smart blockchain system that can connect all those data together and make a knowledge or information of the from the raw data, right? So yeah, there is a potential, but we don't have that much data yet that we see that is useful or applicable to our business at the moment.
Yeah, thank you. This was again amazing, inspiring session, inspiring presentation, and then you guys keep building all these great technologies. So thanks a lot for joining today.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
And last but not the least, we started with the list that I was given. So Wilson, I wasn't planning to let you speak in the last, but I think this is going to wake everybody up. What Simrak has been doing, what in the industry, and both in terms of technology and impact they are creating, and what they are trying to do next is amazing, quite story. So with that, I'm going to introduce Wilson. Wilson who is the president of Simrak company, and floor is yours, Wilson. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I'd like to, name is Wilson, and we're a technology company. I'm very inspired by the good discussions, especially related to sensors addressing real world issues. I'd like to start with actually a couple of questions. I don't have the full answers, but I'd love to work with all of you and to see what we can do the best to address some of the real issues. One is we've been talking about construction, and I see most of the presentations related to new construction. I'd like to ask the questions about what do you see as the aging infrastructure issue we're actually facing? And we're certainly seeing that in Canada, in North America, and you've probably seen bridges are crumbling and buildings are collapsing, and we actually have lots of them. So like, to me, that's a real issue. And what are we doing as an industry to manage that better? Because we have seen some challenges now. We recently worked on a bridge that's over 100 years old, is in operation, is carrying heavy train load every single day. We see large buildings collapse in Florida. What are we doing about that? We're certainly not tearing it down. Everything tear it down right away. We have to consider the capital and kind of sequence a little bit, and what can we maintain, what can we manage, and what do we need to replace? That's one. And what are the tools and systems using the best technology, the current that's available to us now? That's one. Two is a real issue, and I love this opportunity because and thank you, Naomi. I see Naomi is here for the opportunity to be here. We had an initial discussion with Turkey because we saw the earthquakes issues. 2020, I think October 30th, a large earthquake. I actually exchanged some emails with some of the folks at UN disasters prevention folks, and I said, what can we do? Is there something we can do about that? Buildings collapsed and people were killed. Let's face it, over 100 people died. What can we do about it? The technology is available. Early warning systems are possible. Data, lots of data are available. What can we do about it? The third question related is, since we have a lot of data and people brought it up too, and there is a certainly elephant in the room, is what is meaningful data? What is useful from the engineering, construction, structural perspective that's useful to that level of accuracy and real time? And what is that can be used for that? And how is the technology adoption around that? So these are the questions I'm asking because I've been challenged with these, and I've been seeing some of the possibilities, but love to chat together. So with that, I introduce our company, Simrock, and so we specialize in. Started with hardware business, sensors. We started, and just like our colleagues here, we started with sensors. We saw some of the issues, and I'm a mechanical engineer, so I used to work for oil and gas, heavy industrial area. I noticed that some of these issues in the data quality, especially if you talk about something collapsing structural members, how to get the real-time stress information, how to get the real-time vibration information that's accurate. And how do we know if it's good? So I noticed that one challenge I noticed that many years ago, probably 6 years ago, is when we talk about sensor, especially in the vibration area related to building structures, the low frequency is missing. I noticed at first in the geological area, because we were doing the seismic ground motion monitoring. I noticed that most of the sensors are not good enough to provide that low frequency information. And low frequency information was missing and caused a lot of issues because you wouldn't know it accurately without that low frequency information. So we started the sensor developing hardware and make sure we have the sufficient coverage of low frequency range for that vibration or seismic related. Then we realized that, oh, wow, people are actually not able to get the data in real time and they can't get it fast enough. Recorded data is hard, you pass it to each other and it's hard to use that data to analyze too. So we gradually started from the hardware and we got into a bit of software data transmission in real time. Then gradually we got into the online server or real-time interface or cloud service for data analysis. So that's our background. With that, I'm gonna very quickly get into this. Maybe I'll just share a few slides quickly. Okay, so for our for the technology, we focused on the lower frequency components that's missing in the seismic and vibration field. And something small that provides good information from the sensor perspective, good quality, good enough for engineering services. And that was missing. So this is one of the examples that we developed over the years. This is a field sensor system. We call it a system because actually it not only pick up the data, it digitize it, transmit it in real time. What you see here is that we position that in the field, in the farm, and actually monitor the ground motion in real time. The data is transmitted in real time through our server, and so we can see everything. And this is a sensor position on a bridge, an older bridge, and to make sure that we understand how much it's moving. So the benefit is it's easy to install because these are small. As small as something like this, and we can just clamp it onto a structure. And it can be a little larger and can be buried in the ground. The performance is really up to par and to cover that wide frequency range, low to high frequency range. And it's real time wireless. And so we can use the current available technology to have it transmitted in real time. And and we think data quality is a real issue for AI industry. A lot of people talk about AI, but not too many to talking about quality yet, but we do see the quality becoming a real AI issue, because without the detail, sufficient information just for that detail you need, it's easy to make mistakes. It's easy to cause to get false alarms in these issues. We compared this technology to a bunch of others, including fiber optics, traditional sensors, cameras that capture the images, and you try to count the difference for displacement or changes. All these are so difficult to use. They all have to come with other challenges. Like fiber has a big noise issue, self-noise issue. So it doesn't give you enough details because it has very high self-noise floor. And good signals quite often is covered by its self-noise. Camera technology is often has a challenge of the support structure of its own. So the camera can move on its own. So when you try to use that to detect some movement of the image, it's very challenging, so on and so forth. Acoustic technology will be missing the low frequency, and so on and so forth. So we started with hardware, and then we developed the software, and now we're in the data service for these areas. Structural health monitoring. I talk about crumbling, aging infrastructure. We actually see that it's actually happening. So we're now getting on more and more bridges to do more work. I do have a couple of images I'll show you next. Preventive maintenance. So once we have some facilities in operation, how do we predict something is happening or will happen? If there's earthquake, if it's earthquake prone zone, how can we embed some of the early warning systems? As you know, the large earthquakes, there's a P wave that comes first, and then there's S wave, which is more destructive. Normally, you can detect P wave first, and before the big S wave comes, and you can actually give people some early warning. And sometimes half a minute can give people can do a lot if they know half a minute and 30 seconds before the accident. And these are actually technologies can be embedded into the current the new construction projects now. That's one opportunity we see. Geoscience side, if you're, again, earthquake or prone zone or areas you have critical infrastructure, dams, for instance, the failure prevention, and that can be built in. Imagine that you can provide that to the operators, the owners of the structures. You can monitor that as we go for dam safety. Say even structures where mudslide is a concern. So things we can do for that. And we do see early warning systems are getting relatively mature now that can be embedded into some of these new construction projects. One example, and this is one bridge right here in Alberta in Canada. We worked on it for the last few years because more cracks are showing up every year. So we're helping the company, the railway company, as maintaining it, and to focus on identify and do diagnosis and to identify where the stress issues are coming from. What are the issues? Is it wind load? Is it train load? Is it from the stress members, or is it something else? So we use our sensors to do diagnosis, and then we help them to do repairs. And we actually compare the data before and after, and to see the effectiveness of the repairs. We actually combined stress, strain, vibration, displacement monitoring, wind load all together, all through our systems. So we have our own digitization systems to get our own vibration data, but not limited to that. So we also have stress, strain gauge all together. It's very efficient to transmit data in real time. So we can see all these together. Another example on this is on pipeline. So we actually have sensors we transmit in real time. We can see the pipeline movement. Interesting enough, I actually sometimes see the things going through the pipeline, like slugs or the pigging process. You can see the pig go through the line. Another one I think is very much related to Turkey is a network of sensors that I can actually position anywhere we want. And this is one we did in northern British Columbia in Canada. And we actually can identify real-time earthquakes very quickly within seconds, and very accurately generate the map for it and see where it's happening, and generate location, amplitude information. And then some of these things build up over time. You actually can see indicators for larger events, larger earthquake to happen. Normally there are a bunch of indicators before that. So good partners with universities for research projects as well. So with that, I'm just going to stop there. I'm not going to go into too much details. I think for considering the time, I'd like to open up for questions, and I can find a specific maybe slide to help with that.
Thank you, Wilson. Again, it's quite relevant to Turkey as well as San Francisco, all these earthquake-prone regions. In general, we are not good at managing the risk, managing the crisis. So maybe we can prevent crisis to happen if we can manage the risks. And then you guys are perfectly positioned there if we can, if you guys can create an impact there. So you briefly mentioned about 5G technology. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change what I'm intended to do, because you disrupted the session by asking 3 questions. And I don't want to ask my question, because your questions were much more interesting, and I think they are more important to our audience. So Wilson asked 3 questions, and any of our panelists maybe can chime in to these questions. The first one is, what are we doing in terms of the aging infrastructure? And then how do you guys maybe contribute to that aging infrastructure with your technologies that you just talked about? Maybe you can answer that. And how about the earthquake and the early warning systems? What can we do? That was the second question. And the third question is, what is meaningful data? So lots of data. So just you guys can maybe answer any of these. These are all important questions that might help us to wrap up this session. I think great. Thanks for doing my job, Wilson. That was great. Thank you. So anyone in particular wants to answer any of these questions? So one was about data. The other one is aging infrastructure that we are seeing in developing and even developed and developing countries, and the earthquake.
Can I take the aging infrastructure? Is that I think it ties in with the some of the activities we're doing on decommissioning some facilities, and actually using some of our technology to sequence that process as well. I mean, I talked about Synchro early on for new builds, so thanks for picking that up, Wilson. But we're also doing it for decommissioning some assets as well, and sequencing that, because it is important. In some cases, it requires even more attention when an operations is running, and there's only one component that you need to decommission or take offline. So I think from that point of view, there is a place for some of this technology like Synchro, and to have that sequencing in place there. So I hope that helps. It's a very good question.
Maybe I can add a few comments, right, relating to existing structures. Yeah, we had few products early on, right, at Geotech, corrosion detection of infrastructure, right, existing one, ridges. But the challenge we had was it's a big problem, right, for sure, right? Also, the big problem is there. But the challenge we had was a lack of support or funding or attention from the government, generally speaking, not only in Canada, US, everywhere, right? So that we need to have a little bit higher level of awareness, because most of those infrastructure, right, belongs to government, at different level, could be federal, provincial, like even city level. And we need to have a little bit different approach, right, from government perspective, to invest more, like in terms of the maintenance, right, the cost, to basically for maintaining the infrastructure, right? So we had cases, right? So every 2 years, for example, in North America is mandatory inspection of the bridges are mandatory, right? But the budget sometimes, even is not enough to drive by a bridge, right? $400 they bid on the project, right? So it's $400, right? So there's so basically there's no place for the technology adoption, right? Because the cost is not there. I mean, the cost is there, and it's a long-term thing. It's not 3 years, 4 years. It's not the initial ROI, right? So we are looking at extending the 50 years of the infrastructure to 100 years, right? So it takes time, and we need to have a little bit long-term vision, right, into this problem. Whereas construction, building the new infrastructure is 2-3 years, is very shiny and you can accomplish something, quite fast. And that
yeah,
needs to change.
Yeah, I'd like to echo that too. Is we certainly see one challenge. I got the emails and reminding us we can mention about some of the challenges of the new technology application in this field. I certainly agree with that. The adoption, I think, is new technology adoption rate is very low or slow. Speed is very slow. So there's a role in there, both the government and the industry. I do see that. One example is the budget, and as we just mentioned, and two is let's say the current project when they show up, the bidding document quite often is referring to the existing established methods only. So it doesn't call for anything new, and it doesn't give you any room for the new, because you come up with the new ones, it is not part of the bid process. You won't be evaluated against that. You won't. So, and another thing I saw recently, it was very interesting, and this is in Canada. I'm very proud, actually, we're supported by Canadian government for the new technology development. However, when it comes to adoption, our Canadian government, when they announced the projects, the bidding is actually asking for everything, that's existing, nothing for new. So a bridge assessment, for instance, we actually have a system that's for bridge assessment. It is so efficient, way more efficient than the traditional way, but it's not on the list for bidding. And we try to promote that, and then we're actually not on the bidding list ourselves. We are told that we're not invited because it's only established companies that's invited to the bidding process. I'm saying that as just being honest. I see, Alex from Hatch, big company, Tom Stevens, I think from the WSP, big company in this field. You guys would be invited to some of these biddings that we are not even qualified as new technology companies. So having said that, looking for opportunities, I think the industry can do something because I'd love to work together with the industry. Maybe we can jointly promote some of these higher efficiency. That's very, very beneficial to all the folks.
Thank you. Mark, is there anything that you want to add? There is a question that asks about, maybe that's related to what you guys are doing a little bit at the JDM. The question is asking about, is there a capability or possibility for advanced assessment on the fatigue condition of the investigated structure once performance data are being collected? So we are talking about, you showed, Mark, some of your capabilities, some of the JDM technology group's capabilities of simulating design a building before it's being built, right? You walked us some videos. I'm seeing an opportunity here, maybe some kind of a fatigue assessment, or with Giatech, integrating the concrete quality data or assessment into those simulations before the construction even starts, right? So do you see any possibilities there, or anything you want to add in particular?
Yeah, I mean, it's not there today, but if the need is there, then absolutely. The software is built. Really, we try to build all our software with the ability to integrate what's needed to be integrated, right? So as construction evolves and different needs take place, and if this becomes a key issue, then we have the ability to integrate and get that information available into that single platform. So everybody, again, is looking at that same data point and understanding what's going to happen to the project if this is what's used or if this is what happens. So between that and even the risk analysis software that we use, absolutely, I do that can be done. Great,
thank you. Again, welcome. For the sake of being on time and finishing on time, we went a little bit over time, but all of these speakers and all of these presentations were inspiring, amazing, and very relevant to what we have been discussing, all these transformations that has been happening in the construction industry. And with that, I want to thank all of our panelists and as well as the organizer of this event. And then I'll pass the floor to Naomi.
Wow, thank you so much, Izet. Thank Thank you for doing such a great job facilitating the panel and for asking some really interesting questions. And I mean, of course, thank you to all our panelists. It's always amazing to me the really advanced technologies that are developed in Canada. And I also find it interesting that you're so willing to, explore opportunities abroad, in this case in Turkey. And hopefully, through this dialogue, we'll be able to connect some of your technologies with some of the EPC companies in Turkey. But, before we get there, I just want to thank you all for being with us today. And thank you so much for your participation. So I realize that we're getting short on time. So we'll very quickly move on to Femer, who is the Senior Regional Manager for Export Development Canada, and probably something really interesting for some of our Canadian company participants to hear about as well, because you'll be talking probably to EDC if you pursue opportunities in Turkey. And the regional, well, I'll let Femer talk to you about that. So Femer, I'll hand the floor over to you.
Thank you, Naomi. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Femer Engin. I'm a Senior Regional Manager at Export Development Canada, based in our Istanbul representation. It is a great pleasure to be here today to be able to connect with you. Huge thanks to the organizers of this event, BIM4TURKEY and Canadian Trade Commissioner Services, and special thanks to Naomi for inviting me over. I only have about 5 minutes. I'm going to keep it short, so I don't have enough time to get into the details of our financing and insurance solutions. Instead, what I would like to do is to introduce Export Development Canada, or EDC, and talk a little about our activities in the Turkish market with the hope that I can pique your interest for further dialogue after this program. Export Development Canada is the official export credit agency of Canada. We are a Crown corporation, so our shareholder is the government of Canada, but we operate on commercial principles. We have our own treasury and we are a self-funding organization. We are one of the largest and one of the most capable export credit agencies in the world. We have AAA credit rating. Very few organizations are left with a AAA credit rating, especially after the pandemic. We are one of the very few. We have a very strong balance sheet, and we are a very unique organization. We facilitate more than $100 billion worth of transactions annually around the world. So it's a very large organization as well. And as I mentioned, we are very unique. We have very unique products. I can give our proactive working capital solutions to international strategic buyers as an example. This is a product that EDC innovated many years ago, and we've been very successful in the Turkish market as well, especially in the infrastructure space. Turkey is an important market for us. So we established our Turkey office in 2010 to cover the Eastern Mediterranean and Central Asian markets out of Istanbul. So you can think of the Balkans, Israel, Turkey, Caucasus, and Central Asia are key geographies. So it's a large market, but in this geography, Turkey is the most important market for us and accounts about 75% of our business volume annually. Just to give you a sense, we have facilitated more than $10 billion worth of financing in the Turkish market alone since we established our office in 2010. So it is certainly a very strategic market for us. Our clients are quite diverse. So we have clients in the telecom industry. Infrastructure certainly is a very important one, mining, oil and gas, healthcare. So it's a very diverse client base. We also support Canadian exports and commodities. And most of the commodity exports from Canada are insured through our account receivable insurance program. So we have definitely a very important footprint there as well. And we also support Canadian banks in their activities, for their activities in the Turkish market, and have a very significant exposure to the Turkish banking industry as well. These are important because I think we have a very good understanding of the Turkish market as a result of our activities in Turkey. So we know the market very well, and the market knows us very well. which is important because we have a very strong reputation in Turkey. And I think it is an asset for Canadian companies who are planning to do business in the Turkish market. EDC is primarily, here for you. I'm, addressing the Canadians in the audience, the Canadian companies. Our job is to make your life easier in the international markets. So if you haven't worked, first of all, with EDC, please reach out, and we would be more than happy to, talk about our products and services. I gave some big numbers at the beginning. I don't want to give the impression that we only work with very large Canadian organizations. In fact, most of our clients are SMEs, Canadian SMEs, and we want to do more with Canadian SMEs in the future. So if you're a Canadian SME listening to this and haven't worked with EDC before, please reach out. And if you are planning again to do business in Turkey, I would also encourage you to reach out to TCS, to Naomi, and to EDC as well. There are a tremendous amount of opportunities in the Turkish market, but there are risks as well. So you have to be mindful of those risks and understand how you can mitigate those risks. And we would be more than happy to have a discussion about those issues with you, so that you can make more informed decisions in the Turkish market. I can give currency as one example. The Turkish currency has been very volatile since 2018, so you have to be careful about some of those things. But I think infrastructure specifically is a very good maybe platform for Canadian companies. Turkish EPCs have been very successful, not just in Turkey but around Turkey as well, and you can consider these companies as a gateway to the region, and most of their business is in hard currency, so they are naturally hedged and could be a stable partner for you. I'm primarily talking about the ones who are mainly active outside of Turkey in key infrastructure projects. So I would certainly encourage you to explore that venue a bit more, as there's a significant overlap with what Canada has to offer and what Turkey needs. I'll wrap. I recognize that I have very a short time. Maybe I'll end with these 2 points. If you are a Canadian company, again, please reach out to learn more about Turkey, how we can mitigate risks in Turkey, in the Turkish market, how we can partner with the large EPC companies and who's who, and we can certainly facilitate certain introductions for you as well. And if you are a Turkish company listening this, I think what I would encourage you, you've already listened, Canadian companies are very innovative. Canada is one of the most advanced economies in the world, and there's a tremendous amount of value partnering with Canadian companies and using Canadian technology in your projects. But one additional benefit would be to basically explore EDC cooperation. We're one of the key lenders in the Turkish market, and we would do our utmost to support Canadian exporters in Turkey. So that would be an additional benefit for you. Thank you very much again for your time, and I'll turn it over to Naomi. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Femer. I find every time I hear you talk about EDC, I learn something new. And I would echo your comment. The Trade Commissioner Service, the TCS and EDC, at least in this market, we work very closely together. And we're very fortunate to have such a good partner to work with, like yourself. So that being said, I will very quickly wrap up. Because I know it's 7 o'clock here in Turkey, and I think everyone who is in Turkey and still on the line, thank you. And I'm sure you're wanting to get on with your evening. So very quickly, I'd like to extend my thanks to Mehmet, Ilayda, and everyone from BIM4TURKEY for their professionalism and willingness to collaborate with the Trade Commissioner Service and to organize and host today's event. A big thanks to our moderators and panelists for both sessions. I mean, obviously today would not have happened and would not have been, I think, as interesting and fascinating if it hadn't have been for you and your contributions. I think this has been a very fruitful first Canada-Turkey construction technology dialogue, and something where we will no doubt see more collaboration between Canada and Turkey as a result. So finally, thank you to all of you who are still on the line, and thank you for everyone joining us today. I'm going to quickly put some contact email addresses in the chat box here. For anyone who wants to get in touch with the Trade Commissioner Service in Turkey, if you want to be connected with some of the Canadian companies that were involved today, or if you just have any requests for information, this is what the Trade Commissioner Service is here to do. So we're here to facilitate business opportunities and commercial opportunities between Canada and Turkey. So thank you so much. Please don't hesitate to contact me if you need anything. And with that, I will wish you all a good day or a good evening. Teşekkür ederiz.